hanging low on the horizon. My heart is numb as I watch you slip away. You close your eyes as if the light is growing brighter, and a peaceful gaze consumes your tired face. Do not go gentle, no, my love. The angels don't need you above.
Good afternoon and welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about grief. It's unfortunate. It's one of those things that happens to all of us. Nobody wants to talk about grief. Nobody does. Nobody wants to talk about how it makes them feel, and men especially, because men tend to like to keep the image up and suffer in silence. So, for us men it's very, very difficult to deal with grief. To give you some examples, I'll run through a series of events that's happened to me. On the 9th of May 2008, my wife was 34 weeks pregnant, and we went for the scan, and when we were in the scan I was laughing and joking about, and the nurses turned around and said, "This is why we don't laugh." And I said, "Why is that?" And I looked at them smiling, and they said, "We can't find the heartbeat." Well, at that point I couldn't think of anything to smile about, nothing at all. But I carried on with the lightheartedness and said to my wife, "It's okay, sweetheart, everything will be okay." If that was the end of it, we would have been fine. But then on the 13th of October 2008, my father died. I hadn't spoken to him in a long time, but my father died. And then on the 22nd of February 2010, my mother died. So it doesn't stop there, the grief. The grief is perpetual. My mother being the most important person probably out of all. But then it carried on, because in 2016 an auntie that I deemed to be my second mum died on the 12th of September 2016, and then 10 days later another one of my aunties died. So it's fair to say I've gone through a fair bit of grief in the last few years, but I look at it from a different perspective. I've never looked at someone to blame for the deaths. Never looked for someone to blame. When we grieve, we blame. We say, "Why did God do this? Why didn't the doctors do this? Why didn't family members do that?" But we look to blame other people. But perhaps we're looking at the wrong side of it. One day is going to ruin every single memory that you've had of that person. One day. But their legacy will always live for generations. You will mention their names for generations to come. They didn't fail. You didn't lose them. The memories of who they are still in you. But you, as sufferers, wait till you seem to see the day that they die. Never everything that they put into, gave you in your soul, in your heart, that made you who you are. You don't see that, and that's unfortunate, because there's a lot more to see than just their death. let's look at all of these people. When they die, what has a beginning has an end. We all know that. When they live for a great period of time. In a lot of cases, some are taken away earlier, like the baby, but they live in a great period of time. Now, during that period of time, they filled your heart up and they filled your soul up with energies that nobody else could have given you. And it fabrics who you are today. So, with grief, we need to look at it differently. Nobody can understand what you've gone through. Nobody on this planet can understand what you've gone through. Because you're going through it. No one else. I can't understand. Your mum, your dad, your sisters, your brother, they can't understand because it's you. But what I can understand about me is from their deaths gave me the strength to realise what they have created. Does that stop me from suffering? Of course not. I still suffer. I still think about my son, my dad, my mother. It doesn't stop the suffering, but it reduces it. It puts everything into perspective of what they meant rather than what happened. And I think that if we look back on those times and say to ourselves, did I really lose anything? And your answer has always got to be, no, I didn't. It's just that story ended. But the story that it gave was a beautiful read. Everything that you know that you experienced with them, you'll tell your children, who'll tell your children's children. And their memory will live on, as long as it's encouraged, their memory will live on for as long as your family lives on. So there's more to this than just what you've lost now. It's what you're going to gain in the future, because it'll be handed down from generation to generation, universal knowledge. So the loss of somebody is the physical loss. It can never be an emotional loss if they've given you so much. The emotional side of it is the fact that they're no longer there. The fact that you can no longer talk to them. It's a bit selfish, I know, but we are a bit selfish sometimes. But the reality of it is, they are still there. Because you have them in your memories. They are still with you. Because if they're in your memories, they're a part of you. They didn't leave anywhere. You just saw them as leaving. So, hopefully, well, as you can see, we've all gone through grief. Some go through a lot more than I did. Some go through less than I did. But look at the positive from it. Your life is there to send that knowledge out into the world. People, when they come to the funeral, they always reminisce on the good times. Nobody reminisces on the bad times. They all reminisce on the good times. The reason being is it's a celebration of what these people have achieved. So grief, although is acceptable, and although there's a very large mourning period, learning to deal with it in a positive and constructive fashion can only ever help you. I hope that's helped, and like I said, if you get any comments or anything else, give me a shout. Anyway, everyone, you have a lovely afternoon, and hopefully you feel better. Okay, bye-bye.
The setting sun hanging low on the horizon. My heart is numb as I watch you slip away. You close your eyes as if the light is growing brighter, and a peaceful gaze consumes your tired face.